Hello and welcome to my Pre-Algebra review series. This video covers Chapter 3, Section 6, titled Solving Equations by Multiplying or Dividing Decimals. By the end of this video, you will have reviewed the processes for using multiplication to solve equations, using division to solve equations, and in both cases, you'll be looking at real-world problems in need of solutions of each type. Please leave a like if you find this video to be helpful. Give your classmates a heads up too. It will more than likely help them, and it certainly will help this channel to be seen by more students. If you'd like me to cover any of these topics in greater detail, please leave a comment in the comment section below. I read them and do my best with each as time permits. Please subscribe to my channel and ring the bell icon to be notified every time I release a new video. Thank you, and let's get into it. Objective 1. Using division to solve equations. In lesson 2-6, you use division property of equality to solve equations using integers. You can also use this property to solve equations with decimals. Remember to divide each side of the equation by the same non-zero number. Okay, example 1, dividing to solve an equation. So the equation here is 0.9r is equal to minus 5.4. We want to solve for r. And going back to our rules, what are the rules? What are the procedures? Get the variable by itself. And the variable must have a 1 coefficient. Okay? So right now I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to say 0.9 r is equal to minus 5.4. And how do we get the r by itself? We multiply. If there's a coefficient, once all the constants are moved to the opposite side, away from the variable, then you take the variable itself and you multiply it by the reciprocal of its coefficient. The coefficient of r is 0.9. The reciprocal of 0.9 is 1 over 0.9. Okay, so that's times 0.9 times r, and that's equal to minus 5.4 times 1 over 0.9. Remember, you have to do the same thing on both sides of the equation. Remember that. I'm going to underline that in blue here. You have to do that on both sides, okay? Once you've done that, you can now go back and cancel the 0.9 divided by 0.9, and then that equals, what's left is r, and the r equals minus 5.4 divided by that. This multiplication by the reciprocal here is the same as divided by 0.9. And what does that equal to? Well, it's going to equal to a negative number, because we have a negative, one single negative. And the 5.4 divided by 9, well, what is 54 divided by 9? 54 divided by 9 is 6. 5.4 will be divided by 0.9 6 times. So the answer is negative 6. There's our answer. So example 1, check your understanding. Solve each equation. After you've tried these yourself, why don't we come back? We'll go ahead and we'll start this now. We're going to say here, for A, 0.8 x is equal to minus 1.6. And what are we trying to do? We're trying to get the variable by itself. We have to get the coefficient to 1. In order to get the coefficient 0.8, get that to disappear so that we have the coefficient is 1, we can divide both sides by 0.8. Okay, and if we divide the negative 1.6 by 0.8, we're going to have, these will cancel, and we're going to have x is equal to minus 1.6 divided by 0.8. And 8 goes into 16 2 times. So negative 1.6 divided by 0.8 is negative 2. B, 115 is equal to 2.3x. Same as before, get the x by itself. The coefficient has to be 1. So all we're going to do here is we're going to divide both sides by 2.3. Divide this side by 2.3. It's easy to see it when you do it this way. Do both same thing to both sides. When you divide this side by 2.3, you get x. And x equals what? 1.15 divided by 2.3. And if you look at it, 1.15 goes into 2.3 two times. But it's going to be an inverse, right? It's the larger number's on the bottom, so it's going to be 1 over 2 or 0.5. So in our case, x is equal to 0.5. Okay. Now C, negative 181.81 is equal to negative 0.9 n. Well, I'm going to do it again just by dividing because it saves room because there's not a whole lot of room on this sheet. But I'm just going to divide both sides. I have to get the n coefficient equal to 1. In order to do that, I have to divide both sides by a negative 0.9. And I have to do both by negative because otherwise I'll be left with a negative and then I have to divide by a negative 1. So I just divide everything by negative 0.9. Both sides divide by negative 0.9. And when I do that, these, including the negative signs, will disappear. So we end up with an n, and n equals what? 81.81 divided by 0.9 negative equals a positive number. Negative divided by negative is positive. 8181 is 9.09. Okay? There's your answer. Example 2. Here's a real world problem. An oil field produces an average of 16.8 thousand barrels of oil per day. How many days will it take to produce 200,000 barrels? Well, let's look at this. Let's take a peek at this and see what it is in words. So the daily oil output, okay, times some number, the number of days, because they want to know how many days, so it's times some number of days will equal 200,000 barrels. They're looking for when will we be able to get, how many days will it take to have produced 200,000 barrels, producing 16.8 thousand every day. So in order to do that, we're going to say, let n, I guess, be, the n will be the equals to the number of days. Okay, number of days. So now our equation is oil production, daily oil production, 16.8 times n, the number of days it takes to produce $200,000, right? 200,000 barrels is n, the number of days, because they want to know how many days, and that's equal to what they're looking for, the 200,000. 200,000. Okay. And this was also, I guess I can say, it was 16.8 thousand or 16,800. I'm sorry. Okay, times n. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the n, the coefficient of n is 16,800. We're going to divide both sides by the coefficient of n, the reciprocal of the coefficient of n, and that is, I could do this. I'll say 1 over 16,800 times 16,800 times n is equal to 200,000. We're dividing both sides, divided by 16,800. That's the same as writing 1 over 16,800. I just put it directly underneath. So when I do that, these cancel, and I end up with 8, or excuse me, n is equal to 200,000 divided by 16.8 thousand. And when I do that, the answer comes out to be 11.904 days. Now they don't ask us to round it. I don't think that about how many days. I guess that's kind of rounding. So we're going to round. If we're going to round days, we're going to have to round up because this is 11 days plus almost another whole day. So I'm going to say that this is approximately equal to 12 days. Okay. Okay, example 2, check your understanding. It's your problem to go ahead and take a look at. I'll read it. You paid $7.70 to mail a package that weighs 5.5 pounds. Write and solve an equation to find the cost per pound. So go ahead and give it a shot when you get back. Okay, so now that you've done that, let's take a look at it. We know that the total price is $7.70, so I'm just going to write that down right here. $7.70. And that is equal to what? The price is equal to the number of pounds times the price per pound. And what we don't know, they want us to find the cost per pound. Well, let's say that that's C. Let's let cost per pound be C. So if we say that, we have 5.5 pounds, 5.5 pounds times C cost per pound is equal to $770. So what is this? This is, I think, would be the formula. So now we have to get the C by itself. 5.5 we have to multiply by the reciprocal of the coefficient of C, which is 5.5, which is multiplying by 1 over 5.5. Or we can just divide 5.5 on this side and divide 5.5 on this side. These cancel and we're left with C is equal to 770 divided by 5.5. And the answer there is going to be $1.40. Okay? Okay, objective 2, using multiplication to solve equations. Well, just the last one we're doing division. And it says here, to solve an equation involving division, multiply each side by the same non-zero number. Well, in the previous one, we were dividing both sides. If you recall, I put the number over the number, right? I was dividing. Now we're going to be multiplying. So let's take a look at this when we get there. Okay, example 3, multiplying to solve an equation. So here we are. See, like I said, we're going to start off with a divisor. We're going to be dividing into our variable, and we're going to have to multiply to get rid of it. So I'm going to write it out. I'm going to say m divided by negative 7.2 is equal to negative 12.5. So now we have to get this m by itself, and in order to get the m by itself with a coefficient of 1, we're going to have to get rid of the negative 7.2 on the denominator, and we're going to do that by multiplying the numerator, multiplying each side by negative 7.2. So what I'm going to do then, I'm going to say negative 7.2 times m over negative 7.2 is equal to negative 12.5, not divided by, oops, I'm going to take rid of that, divided, let's see, it's multiplied by negative 7.2, and when we do that, cancellation here gives us a 1m, 1m is equal to minus 12.5 times minus or negative 7.2. And when we do that, the number, it's going to be a positive number now because it's negative times a negative. So it's going to be a positive 90 if you use your calculator and calculate that. Okay, example 3, check your understanding. Solve each equation. You know what to do. I'll wait for you to come back. Okay, now that you're back, let's start with A. A says we want to get the r by itself with a coefficient of 1. In order to do that, we have to have negative 6.0 divided by negative 0.60. That's 1. Negative 6.0 over negative 6.0 is a 1. So we're going to say, I'm going to do it right here. Negative 6.0 times r is equal to negative 6.0. And that equals 0.5 times negative 6.0. In this case, the negative 6.0s cancel, and we're left with an r, and that is equal to 0.5, a negative number, and 1/2 of 6.0 is 3.0, or we'll just say negative 3. Okay, there's the answer there. For B, S divided by 2.5 is equal to 5. To get rid of the 2.5 in the denominator, we have to put one like it in the numerator. So we're going to put a 2.5 in the numerator times S, and we're going to put that over the same 2.5 that's in the denominator right now. And then that's equal to 5 times 2.5 in the numerator, 2.5. And when we do that, the 2.5s cancel, and we end up with an S equal to 5 times 2.5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 1/2 is 2.5. 12.5. Okay? And now for C, we have 80 minus 80, or negative 80, is equal to T over 4.5. Well, in order to get rid of that 4.5 in the denominator, we have to put one in the numerator. In order to get one in the numerator, we have to put one on both sides of the equation. So it's going to be 4.5 times minus 80 is equal to T times 4.5, the one we're putting in the numerator, over the one that we already have, 4.5, in the denominator. And those two cancel, and we're left with a T. T is equal to 4.5 times 80. That's a negative number. There's a negative sign. And 4.5 times 80 is 360. So there's our answer. Negative 360 is equal to, I got to get an equal in there. Let's get it right there. Equal to T. Okay? Example 4, a real world problem. Batting average. The year is 1923. Baseball season was one of Babe Ruth's best. He was at bat 522 times and had a batting average of 0.393. Rounded to the nearest thousandth, the batting average formula is A. I'm going to write it down so we can find it quickly again. It's A, the average, I guess, is equal to the hits, H, over N, the numbers at bat, I'm guessing. Where A is the average, H is the hits, and N is the number of times at bat. Use the formula to find how many hits Babe Ruth had. Well, the hits are right here on top. So we want to, we know his average was 0.393. That's his average right here. So 0.393, and that's equal to the hits, which we're trying to find, hits divided by the number at bat. And the numbers at bat were 522. 522 at bats. So just like the other equations, we need to get the H by itself so we can find the hits. We need to take the divisor 522 and multiply the numerator by the same number so we can multiply both sides by 522. And we're going to get 522 times 0.393 is equal to the number of hits times, or I'll write this, divided by 522 times 522 so that we can offset the denominator here and get rid of it on this side. And now we can cross off the 522s and we're left with h. And h is equal to 522 times 0.393. And what is that? H is equal to, I guess it's 205 at-bats. Okay? Good. Okay, example 4, check your understanding. So this is your turn. Directions. Suppose your batting average is .222. You have batted 54 times. How many hits do you have? Well, the formula again is the average equals the hits divided by the number of at-bats. And we know here that the average is, I'm going to write it right here, 0.222. That's the average, your average. You and your hits we're looking for the hits. How many hits did you have? And your times at bat were 54. And just like before, we have to get rid of the 54 with the hits by multiplying the numerator by 54 so that the 54 numerator and denominator can cancel. And we're going to multiply, and if we multiply one side by 54, we're going to multiply the other side by 54. So I'm going to do something. I'm going to change up this time. I'm going to do a different color. So now I'm going to say 54 times 0.222 is equal to the number of hits. I'm going to put in green. Look at this. Number of hits. Oh, I said green. Didn't change. Sorry. Now it's green. Almost green. Green. I'm going to do something else. Times the 54, which is the number of hits, is times 54 over 54. So here's the 54 right here is right here. So now you can see it clearly. 54 over 54 is equal to 1. So now I'm just going to say that the green H is equal to, and it doesn't matter what color this is going to be, 54 times 0.222 is 12. Okay?